K-pop Demon Hunters was made by Sony and meant to be released in theaters, but they didn't have faith in it and sold the rights to Netflix instead. And it's there where it became a huge hit and has managed to stay in Netflix's top 10 streaming charts for 46 weeks in a row at the time of making this video, and counting. With Sony's CEO even saying, at the time it made sense. And not surprisingly, it's even getting a sequel. But this movie did not quite work for me, and even though the majority will disagree with me, hopefully I can reach people that, like myself, did not really get won over by the film. So let's talk about what I liked first. Now, the first thing that stood out to me was the animation. It's clearly taking direct inspiration from the Spider-Verse movies, but whereas Spider-Verse was comic book inspired, K-pop's animation is very anime inspired. And by doing this, it has that Spider-Verse DNA whilst also having its own unique visual style. And that makes this familiar animation feel different and quite new. And the K-pop songs, not surprisingly, are very catchy. This is a huge part of this movie's claim to fame, and it's not hard to see why. My favorite of the songs is in the opening. This one song number brilliantly introduces us to the world, it establishes the main trio of characters, shows us that demons exist and can disguise themselves as humans, we see firsthand how devious they can be, we get the best action scene of the movie, and we get a badass transition to the stage where we get the crescendo to the K-pop song number. The movie expertly pulls off its intro and tells you everything you need to know, and it also manages to throw some humor in there too. I also like our three characters, Rumi, Mira, and Zoe. They're each very different and have a good rapport with one another, and they're very well animated. And they're each very different people, giving off different attitudes and personality traits throughout the movie. Now, I recognize something very familiar in these characters that the creators must have been aware of when they were writing this film, and I suspect this might be the secret ingredient for why audiences like them so much, and we'll discuss what that is in a bit. I also thought that the action sequences were really fun. They're fast-paced, beautifully animated, and very creative. And I like the design of the demons too. They're very simplistic, but in a good way, and they come off threatening, even though a part of me wishes that they went even darker. And even though I was a bit meh about it, I liked the relationship between Rumi and Jinwoo by the end. Now for the stuff I didn't like, and there was one big thing that I took issue with, and that was the story. The story is very predictable. I would actually go as far as to say this is the most predictable movie I have seen in 2025. In fact, I can break down the individual story elements and give direct examples of movies and TV shows that have done this all before. Our character getting demonic marks on her body which she is trying to hide from her superpowered friends, that's Raven from Teen Titans. The liar reveal storyline that results in them being left behind by their peers and people, only to come back and save the day, resulting in everyone forgiving and accepting them.
Pick one.
The romance is also very heavily Romeo and Juliet inspired, and the climax to this movie reminded me so much of the Powerpuff Girls episode, Mime for a Change, where the city has been reduced to a soulless, lifeless husk by Mr. Mime.
Mr. Mime! Not you. Mime?
Even two of the Powerpuff Girls are taken out of action, just like two of the Demon Hunters, only for one of the girls to start singing, and then the other two join in, and they end up saving the day. Everything about the story has been done countless times before, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that if they put their own spin on it. But unlike those previous examples, although I wasn't really a fan of this episode, I thought this movie kind of rushed through these story beats and didn't give the drama enough time to really sink in and do anything different. Whenever it could take the time to do something different, it just launches into the next K-pop song, and this happened a lot. I quite often found that instead of really fleshing these scenes out and letting them branch out into something unique, the next K-pop song would just take over. And I know, K-pop is the point of this movie, so I'm not saying that they should have removed these songs, just that they should have given these character moments a little more breathing room between songs. And I think that would have made a massive difference. So the predictability of the story was a gigantic issue for me. It's everything we have ever seen before. And I wish the story wouldn't have been so predictable, because I was able to predict everything that happened in this movie. Nothing took me by surprise in this film. The only thing that did was the flight attendants being demons. Now, I praised the animation earlier, but it does the Spider-Verse thing where it drops frames, and it doesn't work here. I get why they did it in Spider-Verse, but now everything is doing it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, even the new Goat movie, and it's not necessary for these projects, and it's certainly not necessary here. This more anime-inspired animation would actually look so much better if it was moving smoothly, as anime typically does, particularly during the action sequences, but the dropped frames really take away from that fluid anime motion, and it really doesn't work here, and it bothered me. Now earlier, I said there might be an interesting reason for these three being such likable characters to audiences, and that's because I found Rumi, Zoe, and Mira to follow the template of the Powerpuff Girls. Just think about it. Rumi is the leader and the one with the most disciplined moral compass, Zoe is the bubbly one who has a very chipper personality, and Mira is the tomboy with a bad attitude.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl.
And I actually don't see that as a negative. In fact, I applaud it. I think it's actually quite nice to see something take the temple of the Powerpuff Girls. Reason being, because I'm honestly surprised that the golden age of Cartoon Network has not been inspirational to modern works more, so go nuts. The only question now is, does that make these three inspired by the Rowdy Rough Boys?
Who?
We're the Rowdy Rough Boys, and we want to fight! What's up with those guys?
No, they're more their own thing.
Hey, what's wrong with you girls? You're supposed to start crying when we hit you. Yeah!
So yeah, I like the animation, I like the world, the action is fun, the characters are likable, even if they're underdeveloped. The villains are fairly standard and generic if I'm being perfectly honest, especially when compared to our main three, but the predictability of the story beats and character arcs is what prevented me from connecting with this film, as well as its incessant need to quickly rush to the next K-pop song. Now that being said, they are very catchy and I can see how it is one of the things that made this movie such a huge success. But you guys know me, you know I'm not really a songs person. So although I can see how this works for others, it just didn't really work for me or even change me. Although I will say that the third act reveal I thought was pretty good and the drama that came with it was pretty cool too. Again, it was predictable, but I enjoyed it and it was the best part of the movie. That and the opening scene. But I thought they copped out with the ending, because Rumi gives into her demon side and then the very next scene we see her, she has it all figured out. She has it all figured out, they sing one more song, and
The day is saved.
it felt like it wrapped up way too quickly. And that's a shame because I was really liking the ending. The ending really made me feel like the plot was all just an excuse for a big light show and for the K-pop album, which I guess is the point, and it clearly worked. But again, I would have liked more time dedicated to the emotional storyline and drama, as well as the K-pop songs, because I think both were possible here. It would make the movie a bit longer, but I think effectively so. As predictable as it was, the relationship with Jinwoo and Rumi I found to be nice, and I liked the way it ended. Now, before I dodge all of the objects you guys try to throw at me, let me just reiterate, I can see why the right audience would really like this. But for me, I've never put my headphones on and started blasting K-pop. And although I agree with how catchy these songs are, I personally won't be listening to any of these again. So for the right audience, this is a 9 or even a 10 out of 10. But for me, it was above average. So K-pop Demon Hunters gets a 6 out of 10. There's a lot to like here. It's hard to say if this movie would have succeeded the same if it went to theaters as Sony originally intended. If you ask me, I think it wouldn't have. Ironically, it probably would have eventually found its audience like it did once the film ended up on Netflix. And I'm glad the movie found its audience. And for those people, they'll be glad to know that there is a sequel coming in 2029. Yep, 2029. That close. So any day now, mark your calendars. So, I saw the film, saw what all the fuss was about, and the film turned out to not be for me. And you know what? That's alright. A huge thanks to my patrons, and I'm curious, are there any others out there who are in the same boat as I am? We know the majority of people love K-pop Demon Hunters, but are there people who were just so-so about it, like me? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And thanks a lot for watching, guys, and a huge thanks must go to King of the Monsters 2021 for commissioning this quick movie review. If any of you want to commission a quick movie review or quick TV show review from me, then get in touch and we can work something out. I have plenty of more reviews on the way, so stay tuned. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that hype button, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.